And welcome back to another edition of Nonprofit Social Media Nerds. I'm your host, Josh Hirsch, Director of Mission Communication with Komen South Florida. And as always, I'm here with the mostest hostess, Julia Campbell.
Hi.
Hi, welcome.
Welcome. Okay, I'm really excited to have everybody here. So this is the third episode that we're doing of Nonprofit Social Media Nerds. As you can tell, we don't do it every Friday. We do it as many Fridays as we can. October is an insane month, and I know most of you are involved in various different awareness months. I know Josh is doing Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So I appreciate you taking the time out to join us today. If you don't know who I am Julia Campbell. I'm really happy to have you here. Josh and I administer the Facebook group, Nonprofit Social Media Storytelling, and that's a place for nonprofit social media managers, anyone interested in learning more about how to best use social media for their nonprofit, to raise awareness, to raise money. The group is incredible, and if you're in the group, I just want to give you a shout out and say I'm constantly blown away, first of all, by how big the group has grown, which is astounding. I mean, we're like 3,500 people, I think, almost 3,500, and just by how amazing everyone in the group is. Like, someone asks a question, everyone else chimes in. I can't talk enough about the group. So if you're in the group, thank you, and you're amazing. If you're not in the group, get in the group because it's awesome. So make sure during the live broadcast that you're posting your questions. I can't really see anything. I always have technology fails. Josh is the tech guru. He's trying to convert me over to Apple stuff. I told him I had all Apple stuff. Still didn't work. I had an iPhone, I had an iPad, I had everything, and no, still didn't work. So it doesn't matter. It's just my electrical energy. So if I fail or you lose me, Josh will just take over. But please make sure that you ask your questions and post them. So two things. One, yes, what do you want to say?
Well, I would say we have some friends joining us this morning. I see Jessica's on the broadcast.
Yay.
I see Christy.
Marsha. Hi, Marsha.
Christy's joining in and saying hi. So if you're on the broadcast today, tell us where you're from. I'm in sunny South Florida in West Palm Beach, and Julia's up in the cold northeast of Boston.
It's not cold today. It's beautiful. It's like the most beautiful fall day ever. The leaves are turning. It's like 52. It's sunny. It's actually the most picturesque fall day of all time.
We don't have fall here. We have hot summer and hotter-ish summer, and then there's a hot fall, but there's no such thing as fall down here. Nice to see.
So apple picking? You don't have orchards?
No, we do hydroponic strawberry picking. We have some hydroponic nice fields where we can go pick some strawberries or pick your cucumbers. They have some stuff there. It's pretty cool. But let's see. We've got Chrissy's joining us from the DC metro area. Elise is from Long Island. What part of Long Island, Elise? I got some family up there. Sarah's joining us from Springfield, Mass.
Yay, Springfield! It is a beautiful day, isn't it? Right? Christy, yes, we archive all of these videos in the videos tab on my Facebook page, and I'll post the link to that afterwards. Actually, I also archive them on my website, so there are definitely ways to find previous episodes. Anne McGibbon has joined. This is my aunt. She lives in Toronto. Hi, Anne. I'm so excited to have you.
I'm nice to see Jim.
Minneapolis, Freeport.
Yeah, Jim Wells is from Fort Lauderdale. He'll be joining us at your workshop next Tuesday. So we have a local. A local's joining us. All right, Jim.
I'm going to meet Jim in person. Jim is one of my, probably the most OG fan of mine that I've ever had. Like, Jim, I want to know how long you have been reading my blog and subscribing to my email newsletter. I think you're probably my longest fan or my longest term follower. So I did not know that you were coming to the workshop. That makes me so happy. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to hear that. Yay, so excited. Dayton, Ohio. And hi, Annie. Annie Banani. Annie's going to learn. Annie, yeah, she's amazing. She lives in Toronto. She knows all about storytelling. She's a journalist. She's a producer, TV producer. So she can give us some good insights.
We're international. We got Ontario represented by Jamie. There we go. Salem. We got all kinds of people.
Marsha, I'm so bummed I missed the parade last night. I couldn't go. My daughter had rehearsal. But Salem has an incredible, probably the best Halloween parade in the United States. And they always have it the first Thursday of every October. I never miss it. And I had to miss it last night, and I'm really bummed. Okay, so let's get started. Thank you all for joining us. I'm thrilled to have such a wide representation. I did want to say two things. One is that I normally write a blog post recap about every episode with links and resources, and if I share examples, anything like that. So stay tuned for the blog recap. Secondly, I also just released a PDF workbook, a digital storytelling workbook, and it was designed by the incredible Renee Gannon. And Marsha, I know you know Renee. And it's a workbook for you to be more strategic in collecting and crafting and sharing the stories that you're going to use to change the world. So that's at jcsocialmarketing.com/workbook, and we'll talk about that later. I'll share the link out later. All right, so for this week, we're going to talk about 3 simple ways. They're not really simple. That's kind of misleading. Nothing is really simple. I mean, they're pretty easy tweaks that you could incorporate today. So we're going to say simple. 3 simple ways that you can improve your digital storytelling starting today. So the reason I wanted to do this live stream is that I'm giving 3 digital story presentations in the next 10 days. I'm going to West Palm Beach, and that's where I'm going to see Jim, and that's where I'm going to speak to Susan G. Komen and the Sanford Institute of Philanthropy. If you're anywhere near there, please come by. And I'm going to Moscow, and I'm going to Erie, Pennsylvania for Nonprofit Day. It just happens to all be in October. October's insane. So I've been thinking about digital storytelling a lot, and I have a lot to say on this topic. So my presentations range from 2 hours in West Palm Beach to 45 minutes in Erie. And I want to boil them down to sort of three main points. First of all, I do want to say that I think that, we know that we need to share stories to communicate impact to our donors, right? So our donors want effective communication from us. They want to know that they made the right decision to support us, and they want to know that their money is being applied toward results that they find meaningful, that are lasting and effective. So why are we so terrible at storytelling? I mean, let's be real. Like, a lot of us are bad. Josh is not terrible. Susan G. Komen is actually really, really great, and you should all go to their Facebook page and see some of the videos. Oh, actually, have you been releasing those videos?
Yeah, so obviously it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So for me, I got to tell the story of not the survivor. I think the survivor's story is who we always focus on, but it's the co-survivors. It's the community that are going along this breast cancer journey, and that's kind of the theme that we have running for our race this year, no pun intended. Our race is in January, but now we obviously start opening up registration and want people to realize who's going along this journey. So we have a really great video series going out right now. It's a 3-part series about this young girl named Faith. She's 17 years old and in high school, and her grandmother has BRCA2 gene. Her grandmother's sister, the two of them were diagnosed. Grandmother's sister unfortunately passed away. Her mom also is BRCA2 positive. We'll have to have a mastectomy over here process in the next couple years, and as Faith becomes 18 years old, she's going to have to go through some genetic testing and make some tough decisions. So we sat down and recorded maybe 15, 20 minutes worth of video that I chopped up into 3 different parts with her and her grandma really telling her story. And it's important for people to realize that even at 17 years old, you can get involved and make a difference. So Faith is our first ever junior committee race chair and is doing a great job of really engaging the youth, our middle school and high school students that we think about breast cancer, we think about our grandmothers, we think about our mothers, but we don't realize that it's affecting everyone. I sat down yesterday and was talking with a 21-year survivor, and she was telling me what she had to do when she had to tell her 6-year-old that she has cancer. And it's funny, when he was in first grade, his name is Evan. Evan said that his respitin was being able to help around the house and vacuum, and that was just like his little getaway. So, video is very important when it comes to your storytelling, and we've touched on that before. But you want to have a personal connection in your stories. It's not always, let me pull at your heartstrings. It's not doom and gloom. It's not always doom and gloom. You want to show positive outcomes. You want to show the results of what you're doing and how it's helping.
I love that. And actually, I'm going to use, I don't remember her name, the 17-year-old girl. What's her name again?
Faith.
I was going to use her in my number 2 example, my number 2 tip. I think that was, those videos, first of all, I watched them. I got a little sneak peek of them. And they're really powerful. And I love the story of the little boy who just wants to help his mom out by vacuuming, because that just creates that visual in your mind. Yeah. So that actually goes to my first tip, which is start with a hook. And now when we talk about the word hook, we might seem like smarmy or marketing talk or advertising talk. But the point is that, attention is the scarcest resource that we have today. It's much more scarce than money. It's much more scarce than time even. So if you actually show up in someone's newsfeed, or if you show up in their Twitter feed, if you actually make it through the spam filter and you're showing up in their inbox, you better hook them immediately, okay? So the hook is not what's going to get you in their inbox. It's not what's going to get you in their newsfeed. It's going to entice them and draw them in and sort of pique their interest when you've already gotten in front of them. So your story has to be designed to grab attention from the very first word. And 2 examples that I will share in the blog post and that I'll share in the comments. I always use the example of Denver Rescue Mission, and that's just because they do an incredible job. So Denver Rescue Mission, if you look them up on Facebook, you look them up online, they have an entire page of their website dedicated to stories, and they're called Stories of Changed Lives. And they don't just start with like, hi, my name is Julia, and I was born and raised in Beverly, and then this happened, and then this happened. They start off something like this. So, being pregnant on the street was terrifying, Donna says. I wondered every day if I would lose the baby. I was constantly stressed. I even slept in my car for a few weeks before I was humble enough to ask for help from anyone. So you're immediately drawn in. Your curiosity is piqued. You want to know what happens to Donna. And that's not going to grab everyone's attention, and that's fine. Don't worry about those people. Worry about the people that are interested in what you're doing and really interested in making an impact. So you don't want to be, you don't want to be clickbait, and you don't want to simply have headlines and hooks and email subject lines just for people to click. But you have to hook me from the very first word, especially with your videos. And so I think about this a lot. I think about how stories are half style and half substance. We wish that they were all substance. But we all know that if you show up for a job interview wearing sweatpants, I don't care if you have a PhD and if you're the most qualified person in the entire world, then you're not as likely to get the job. So stories need to operate the same way. So style and substance. So the hook is a little bit of style. You need to work a little bit on your copywriting, but the first sentence has to grab me. Another great example is the ProPublica article that I read about workers' compensation, which your eyes might be glazing over, like workers' compensation. That's the most boring that's the most boring topic ever. The title of the article was "How much your arm is worth depends on where you live." That's just going to grab you. So it's a story of 2 men. They both lost arms in industrial accidents. One lived in Georgia and one lived in Mississippi, and the workers' comp is drastically different in both of those states. I never would have read an article about workers' comp that just gave me statistics and told me about the problem, but I read the stories of these 2 men because it was interesting. It grabbed my attention and made me think. So you have to start with the hook. You have to grab me. There's really no other way to do it. Number 2 is it goes to Josh's point. Change up the story structure. So Faith is 17. she's not the kind of person that you expect to see in your traditional Susan G. Komen video. I mean, you expect to see like your grandmother, older people, baby boomers. You expect to see survivors. Those stories are valuable and they absolutely play an important role in raising awareness. But I think that people have become almost numb. They've become a little desensitized to some of the more familiar stories and more familiar tropes out there. So think about the Sarah McLachlan commercial, right? That we've all seen. And I happen to love Sarah McLachlan and I love animals, so that commercial gets me every time. But we tune things out that we know are predictable. We also tune things out that we know are going to make us feel guilty or make us feel bad. I mean, let's just be real. Whether or not we do it consciously, we absolutely do that. So my number 2 tip is to change up the story structure. I also have big problems with the hero's journey. And of course, the hero's journey was popularized by Joseph Campbell, and it's present in almost all of the major motion pictures that you've ever seen, like Star Wars or Hunger Games, Harry Potter. You know, it's someone is not looking for an adventure finds them, then there's a crisis, then there's an epiphany, then they save everybody, and then they go home. And they go home and they're changed. So it's the Lord of the Rings, it's all of that. The problem is that we expect it. We already know what's going to happen. So in nonprofit storytelling, using the simplified hero's journey is not as effective. It's not going to resonate as much. It's not going to compel people to action, I think, as much as it used to. I really believe that your audience and your stakeholders want to see the messy parts. You know, they want to see that not everything is tied up in a bow. They want to see that's not reality. When I worked at a domestic violence shelter, you know, women would want to tell their story, but they'd say, oh, well, I don't have a perfect linear, like I came to the shelter and then I was saved, you know? Or when I worked with Rosie's Place in Boston, you know, like I had a problem with addiction and then I had a relapse and now I'm okay. But I don't want to tell people that those messy stories, but I think the story is part of the journey.
It's definitely part of the journey. We can't sugarcoat everything. I mean,
no.
We're doing a Facebook Live at the end of this month on the 31st on Halloween, basically entitled "Breast Cancer is So Scary," and that's the truth. There's so many things that you don't think about. We had a woman over the summer who was recovering from mastectomy surgery, and she didn't have any air conditioning. She had to make the choices of paying for her medical care than having the power turned on. And as you can imagine, during recovery, you can't be in a warm environment. You really need to make sure you're cool and calm and relaxed. So we were able.
That's something I didn't know. See, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so we were able to work with some local organizations to help provide funding to get her power turned back on. And you know, we don't want to just think, okay, you're diagnosed and then you're a survivor. And you know, it doesn't always work like that. Absolutely not.
Yeah, exactly. So there's many roads to, you know, there's many roads to, I don't want to say salvation, but I guess that's the best word. But there's many journeys, and I sometimes think that some of the most compelling and interesting stories are the ones that are not yet finished. I also think that, especially for donors, they really want to help write that happy ending. So they don't want to say, oh, well, everything is great now. Like, why do you need me? You know, we want to continually make things great, but maybe saying, well, there are a lot more women out here dealing with this, or there are a lot more people out here that are dealing with this and they're afraid to come forward. So how can you bring your stakeholder into the mix to sort of make them feel like they're part of writing a happier ending? Because it's not going to be a perfect ending. Okay, so number 3,
and it goes to that part about bringing your reader in or bringing the viewer in. I was working on an email subject line, and you know, it was about you know, through your, you know, it was all about turning it on you. It's like, how can I infuse the word you know, into this sentence? So before it was like, you know, with your help, or it was, you know, help is along the way. But if we adding in with your help, you know, along the way, it totally gets you in that mindset of putting yourself in that journey, into that story, and knowing how that you're a part of making that story, or making that woman's or man's recovery as part of breast cancer a possibility.
Yeah, it's all about building a community. It's creating a shared identity between the donor and the cause. And as communications professionals, that's really what we should be doing every day. And I think that should be the goal of our stories. So my tip number 3 is, please revamp your call to action, please. So you have the hook, now you've got me, you have my attention, you've inspired me, I've watched your video, I've read your blog post, I've done what I need to do. What am I doing next? Okay, you don't want to tell me, like me on Facebook, also follow me on Twitter, also sign up for my email, also read my blog post, also do this, do this, do this, do this. So you want it to be laser focused. So what I find frustrating is that I watch nonprofit videos pretty much for a living. So I try to analyze them. Yeah, I know, isn't it? It's kind of awesome,
take the job.
Actually.
Yeah,
I think so. Because I use them as examples, I analyze them, I use them in webinars. But I really find that a lot of them don't tell me what I need to do next. Like, they don't really explain to me. They don't make a connection between the action they want me to take and the emotion that I'm feeling. So I'm feeling emotional. Either I'm upset or maybe I'm inspired. And then it just kind of says, donate. And you're like, okay, so that's better than nothing. But what I like to see is, help us make a brighter future for XYZ, or join us now to do this. Like, more inspiring language. And I actually wish that I had some examples, but I don't really.
I wish there was a better way to write "join us." I'm so tired of including in posts or come join us. It's just
we need to do like a copywriting course.
There needs to be something better. You're invited to. Be our guest. We need to wordsmith it, and it's the nonprofit.
Or help us. Yeah.
Help us, but no. So here's the difference. Help us. It's not putting you in the story. With your help, it changes it completely. So by focusing on just, and I always think, how am I going to put the reader into the story? Mm-hmm. How am I going to engage them? I can show you this man or woman's journey along breast cancer, and as you said, the story's not done yet. So how are you, the reader, going to help with their journey? Versus saying, help us do this. No. With your help, it's a totally different world.
Yeah, exactly. So that's really challenging. I'm not going to say that's easy. And actually, I would like to do more research and more training on how to do better copywriting for nonprofits. Because we're not trained as copywriters. I mean, I'm trained in journalism, and I love writing. So I technically was. But most of us are not trained in marketing and business practices and copywriting. We have our passion, we have our heart, we have our knowledge about the problem and about the people that we serve, but we don't have necessarily the ability to translate that into an effective call to action. But what I encourage you to do is, if you're spending so much time on digital storytelling and you're spending so much time creating these amazing videos, writing these blog posts, even creating just a simple tweet or a simple Instagram post, create that call to action that's going to inspire me. It's going to make me think that I'm making a difference.
Jessica came up with a couple of different examples here that I like. Yes. So she has.
Ooh, I love it. You have the power to.
You have the power to. I that one stands out to me the most, because why? You're leading with the word you. Come make a difference with us. You can make a difference with us. Be a part of positive change. Together, we can be a part. Making them into it. Absolutely, 100%. I dropped.
I love it.
I really like you have the power to. I dropped into the comments there a link to Tom Ahern's website. When it comes to nonprofit wordsmith, he's one of the best. I mean, sign up for his blog, follow him online, Twitter, absolutely.
I love him on Twitter lately. He's amazing.
He's really good.
Yeah, he's really good.
And actually, Bloomerang, which is a really great CRM. Yes, I like that, Christy. Together, we can make a positive change.
Yes.
He had
hopeful.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. Well, no doom and gloom. But in Bloomerang, through their CRM, they have something called the Ahern audit. And it's about the copy and your email of how many times you're using versus we. It's all about putting it on the donor and not necessarily on you as the organization. So in my, I had a communications committee yesterday meeting, and we were talking about the social content that we're putting out for Breast Cancer Awareness Month and things like that. So we had a proclamation reading locally by our county commissioners declaring it, locally here in Palm Beach County Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And that's great, he said, but what is it to the reader? Like, how does that help them? What does it mean that you're now having this great, month declared for you? How are you making a difference? So I've had to really rethink everything going forward. It's like, yeah, you're right. It's not, look at me, we're so awesome, we're doing all these wonderful things. It's, look at me, we're so awesome, and this is what we're doing here in our local community to make a difference.
Mm-hmm. And building that shared identity with the person. I think also simplifying the call to action. We get so hung up because if we actually have someone's attention, we want to ask them to do 300 things. And this is why simplified emails work better, which is kind of a little bit of a tangent. But I think emails that are shorter, that are one story, that have one call to action, work better than those 7-column newsletters that I actually used to make in Constant Contact. I mean, I don't know if any of you're probably all too young to remember when that used to be the thing that you did.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Or PDF print, 7-column, like, oh,
yeah.
I know, I remember that. No, now thankfully it's a lot easier because people don't want to read that anymore. They want to read a simplified email. But please revamp your calls to action, because it all works together. Nothing exists in a vacuum. The hook, the story structure, the compelling emotion, the call to action, it all exists in an ecosystem, and none of it will work without the other pieces. And that's why digital storytelling is really challenging. But when it works, when you get it, then it's really exciting. I think it's exciting for you, it's exciting for your organization, and it's exciting for your donors. So
something I like to do in my workshops, and this is touching off Chris's point that he just brought up. He wrote less is more, and that's
always
true. I love doing the 280 character challenge. So it used to be the 140 character challenge, but now it's the 280 character challenge. And I want you to be able to tell me your story. I don't want to hear your organization's mission because we all have a mission and it's just blah. I want to know what you're doing. How are you going to hook me? What's your hook? What's your story? How are you going to change it? And what's your call to action? You've got 280 characters. You can use an image, you can use a video, whatever. And it's really interesting, after the 10 or so minutes that people in the sessions work on this, what they come back with. And it's about hooking me from the beginning, pulling me into the story and making me want to engage.
Yes, and it's really hard to edit yourself. And you know that, Josh, because I always write like 10 pages anytime I'm asked to do anything. I have like 750 slides. I have a really hard time editing down what I want to say, but it's so important. It's really important to do that. And I love that. And you could also do the 6-word story challenge. Story in 6. It's called Story in 6. I think it's storyin6.com. I've done that with organizations. Tell a story in 6 words. Really, what people come up with is
okay. So my favorite one for that is baby shoes for sale, never worn.
Yes, it's terrible. Like, what happened? I know. Then you're just thinking, and that goes to every single point that we just made. It's got the hook, and it's got the emotion because you're really wondering what's happening with that. I love that. So Story in 6, that could be another Facebook Live that we do. We challenge everybody to write their story in 6. So their 280 character challenge.
Melissa, yeah, that would be good. Melissa brought up a good thing is, we always say donate now, donate now. Other ways is, change your life, shelter a family, feed a family. So there's your call to action. It's not just, give me your money. It's give me your money and this is what's going to happen because of it. Much more compelling as a call to action than donate now or support us.
So Jessica just posted a link to my favorite article of all time, The Science of What Makes People Care, in the Stanford Social Innovation Review. I have taken so many ideas from that article because I love it. So it's based on social science, it's based on psychology and social behavior research. it's a must read.
Do you happen to know where that research was done, at what university? It would be University of Florida. Yes.
Was it?
Yes.
Yay.
And
oh my gosh, maybe I could meet them. Are they really?
That's
are they
about
Can
four.
I invite them?
That's 4.5 hours away from
God,
South Florida.
See, I forget. States are big.
Yes, they are. But Anne and Annie,
Massachusetts is not big, so I forget.
they are in the College of Journalism at University of Florida. That's where I went.
That's my favorite article. I have
That's a
that
good
article
one.
printed out. I have it highlighted, written down.
I just tweeted
like,
it out the other day.
circled.
That's really strange.
I love that article. So Jessica, absolutely. So
Yeah.
the point, well, everyone first of all read that article, but secondly, what we're talking about is storytelling on digital channels, and that article is predominantly storytelling for social change. So how to create change, like how to get someone to stop smoking or texting and driving, or how to create change around the environment, how to tackle big complex issues. No, it's really amazing, the science of what makes people care. But I do think that there are kernels of that can be translated into what we do every day in terms of social media and digital. But everything I do and say is actually rooted in that article. Not just that article, but that article is really wonderful. And I study social science research a lot because I think it's interesting. I want to know the motivations. I want to know what actually drives people to take action. And it's certainly not like us on Facebook. That's not what it is.
Jim had a good comment earlier. He wrote,
True, Chris.
Yeah, that was a good one, Chris. Biggest problem I face with clients and prospective clients is that they think everyone knows their story, and or that they can tear themselves away from doing the good work long enough to tell their story, and they never do. So that's a really good comment, Jim.
The curse of knowledge.
Yeah,
the curse of knowledge.
Yeah, people need to know what you're doing, and you have to find time to get away from what you're doing and make that so. And I just learned this new feature where you're actually able to highlight the comments. I like that. New thing for next week.
Oh, neat.
That's pretty cool.
Awesome.
I like that.
No, I think, and I am going to talk about this in the workshop, Jim, but I think the curse of knowledge is a huge barrier for effective storytelling, especially with nonprofits, because we feel entitled to people's attention because we're doing amazing work and we're changing the world, and we're like, why the hell are more people not on board with us? So we get almost defensive and angry and like indignant. And secondly, we are so immersed in it that we can't imagine talking to someone that's not immersed in it. So the curse of knowledge is huge. It's really a big barrier to storytelling, and we have to overcome it. I mean, we have to understand that other people might want to be passionate and might want to understand as much as we do, and they might want to really be involved, but they just don't know how. And to us, it seems so simple. Go to our website, just sign up. The donate button's right there. Like, what are you doing? But to other people, they need their hand held.
I like what Chris said here, as far as keeping it short and simple, that it should fit on the back of your business card. If you need to have paragraphs of copy to get me to do what you want me to do, then you've lost me at sentence number 2. My attention span.
All right, you're the one that watches like TV shows and listens to podcasts and does 25 things at once.
Yeah,
I can't do. My brain does not work like that, but I know the notifications, all that stuff. You have to be able to cut through that clutter.
Oh, and that was actually a good conversation that was on in the group the other day about the conversations. Is that and groups up here? It's about as a social media manager, how do you turn off? And I almost think that you can't turn off. And we'll talk about that, I think, at another conversation altogether, because there's almost that expectation that if I'm going to tweet at you, or if I'm going to post something, and if I'm going to tag you, I want an immediate gratification. I want to know that you're listening. I want to know that someone's out there and has something to say. And if you're not engaging with my content then why did I even put it up there? So it is hard as a social media manager to turn off, and whether you turn off those notifications when you leave work at the end of the day.
I know. That's really challenging. I struggle with that a lot as well, because it's different with me. I'm not dealing with beneficiaries whose lives are on the line. I am myself. It's me, myself, and I. but I still feel like I have to be always on and always have the notifications on. That's another topic that we're definitely going to tackle. And I do want to tackle the topic of how to get respect as a social media manager. I thought that was an awesome suggestion that someone in the group had, and I can't remember their name, and I'm so sorry. But I thought that was a really great suggestion. So those are upcoming topics. And as you can see, you can suggest topics to us, and we will tackle them because, you know, we're here for you. We want to do what's best for you. So that's all that I have. I encourage you to keep a lookout for the blog post when I embed the video and I do all that stuff. Put it up.
I'm sorry to cut you off because Chris
it's okay.
just brought up a good point regarding being always on and whether or not nonprofits should be more into bots. Then, yes, they should be. We're actually beta testing a bot right now for Komen, South Florida, through a platform called ManyChat. It's a free tool. As a nonprofit, we're always looking for free options. It does have some premium features. And I'm going to drop the link into it. Basically, you send a message via Facebook Messenger to our Facebook page, and it will take you down a various series of sequences. So right now I'm working on programming out the content for that sequences. I want it to be twofold. One, you know, I have breast cancer. I need answers right now. Where do I go? The other one is using it for race communication. So I've got 12 to 15,000 people that descend upon the waterfront of downtown West Palm Beach, and they need to know where things are. What's the weather going to be like? What's the parking? You know, all these sort of things. What time does the race begin?
And they clearly don't have Siri or Google. That's fine.
But even still, you want to make it simple.
Yeah.
So when you're on site, we're going to have all kinds of messaging that, you know, basically send a message to, I think it's m.messenger/Komen, South Florida. I'll drop the link into the feed. But it's pretty cool. And I see that Chris has launched one too. So I'll be curious to check that out as well.
Yeah, and I know that Beth Cantor, and if you don't know who Beth Cantor is, I'll put her blog up in the comments. She is she's writing a book with Allison Capon all about artificial intelligence and chatbots. She wrote an amazing article in the Stanford Social Innovation Review about artificial intelligence and chatbots and nonprofits. And actually, let me write that down. I'll put it in the comments because that's another really great one. And if you can't tell, just read the Stanford Social Innovation Review. It's really the best. It's always the most forward-thinking, innovative articles. Cool. So that's all that I have for today.
We got one more question that came in from
Sure.
Christy. How often should we post stories so that we don't drive our audience away by always asking for money? Your stories shouldn't always be asking for money.
No.
You want a call to action in all your stories, but you know there can be other ways that you pull them into your organization without always saying, you know, "Give me, I want the money." Or as we learned earlier from our friend, who was it that great Jessica? I think it was Melissa. You know, change a life. So. Yeah, you've told this great compelling story, whether you're in video, audio, a compelling picture. By the end of it, I should know what you want me to do, that I'm already ready to click donate or ready to click volunteer or become part of your program. So it almost should be second nature that when it's time for the call to action. But you don't always want to ask for money, but still you always want to pull them in. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So for me, what I think you should be doing is you should have a funnel, and I really don't like the word funnel, for every donor. So when the donor gives to you, they're a new donor, you have a series of 3 emails that go out at set times, but they never ask for money. They ask for soft asks, which is watch a video, like us on social media, read our blog, here's more information about us. So I think our job as fundraisers is really to cultivate that relationship and prevent donors' remorse, show donors that we are good stewards of their funds and that we're making a difference on an issue that they care deeply about. And that should be the majority of your communications. And I actually think that's what everybody should be doing on social media. That's what social media is for, building the trust, building that affinity. Sure, you can do Facebook fundraisers, you can promote events, but I really believe in the 80-20 rule. The 80% of your content is educational, informative, inspiring. 20% is promotional. So that might be a good framework for you. But you definitely shouldn't be asking for donations with every single email. And I know that works for people. I mean, I get the St. Jude's emails, I get the Make-A-Wish emails, the big national organizations, they do ask for money with every email, but they're providing value with every email as well. Like they're telling a story. They're always showing me a great visual, a heartwarming, inspiring story, a video. So as long as, I mean, you need to be providing that value. It's really a balance. I don't think that you're going to ever annoy your donors if you're showing them the impact continually. And I don't see how you could annoy them.
Right. So to build off of that, Jim asked, would you agree that now is the time to start telling stories without ads to set the mental stage for Giving Tuesday and year end?
Yes.
Absolutely. We're about 90 days
if you
out.
Started.
Right.
Start now.
You know, we're 60 to 90 days out from, actually, we're already in October, so we're less than that. We're like 45 days out. What am I saying?
Oh, man. November 27. Yep.
All right. So, yeah, we're about 45 days out. So, absolutely, Jim. I would create a dedicated landing page on your website to Giving Tuesday. But it shouldn't be give us money, give us money, give us money. It's, you know, by helping us change a life, or by you helping us change a life, this is what's going to happen. You know, your gift of $25 will do X, Y, Z. Your gift of $100. People like to know that. They like to be able to monetize. Especially the younger donors, millennials, you know, research has shown transparency and knowing exactly what your dollars are going to will make such a difference when it comes to fundraising, especially as we have this new generation of up-and-coming philanthropists. So absolutely, start your Giving Tuesday and campaigns now, and start prepping for year end.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you should be. It's just like you wouldn't always ask a friend for money. I just feel like you need to be treating your donors as your friends. I mean, your community. These are people that you trust. You want to build a relationship with them, a long-term relationship. You don't want to just be going to them, you know, whenever you need money. So
donors are not ATMs. Donors are not ATMs.
Not.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know, why do we use the word donor? This is another very bizarre thing that the nonprofit sector does. Whenever I Google like donor, it always is like blood donor, blood marrow donor. I don't know why we use the word donor, but that's what we use. Like, would you ever self-identify as a donor?
Probably. I mean,
we would, because we know what it means. But I don't. If I like asked my friends, you give to this organization, are you a donor? They'd probably be like, what?
Right.
No. Actually, that's a good focus group. That's another good idea for us. What do people actually call themselves?
Keep adding it to the list.
Sustainer? I don't know. I'm adding it to the list.
Well, thank you for joining us today. We'll do a wrap-up and a blog post Julia will send out here in the next day or so before she gets ready for her whirlwind trip over the next few weeks between West Palm, Moscow, and sunny Pennsylvania.
Yes.
To finish it all up. Thanks for joining us again today, guys. And if you haven't already, be sure to tune in next time and join us on our I'm better with this finger. There we go. There's a group right there. Join our group. Find out more.
Yes.
It's a lot of fun, and we'll see you again next time.